Very good. Yeah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Sakshur Militanyena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Koratuse Namaha. We're reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj and purport of Om Vishnupad Silesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are at Madhya Lila chapter 5, the activities of Sakshi Gopal. Verse 105. The Brahmana then began to think that if the Gopal didn't directly see the Gopal deity, if the people didn't directly see the Gopal deity, they would not believe that he had arrived. But even Gopal stays here, he thought. There is still nothing to fear. Thinking this, the Brahmana turned to look back, and he saw that Gopal, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was standing there smiling. The Lord told the Brahmana, "Now you can go home. I shall stay here and shall not leave." The young Brahmana then went to the town and informed all the people about Gopal's arrival. Hearing this, the people were struck with wonder. All the townspeople went to see the witness Gopal, and when they saw the Lord actually standing there, they all offered their respectful obeisances. When the people arrived, they were very pleased to see the beauty of Gopal, and when they heard that he had actually walked there, they were all surprised. Then the elderly Brahmana, being very pleased, came forward and immediately fell like a stick in front of Gopal. Thus, in the presence of all the townspeople, Lord Gopal bore witness that the elderly Brahmana had offered his daughter in charity to the young Brahmana. After the marriage ceremony was performed, the Lord informed both Brahmanas, "You two Brahmanas are my eternal servants, birth after birth." The Lord continued, "I have become very much pleased by the truthfulness of you both. Now you can ask for a benediction." Thus, with great pleasure, the two Brahmanas begged for a benediction. The Brahmana said, "Please remain here, so that people all over the world will know how merciful you are to your servants." Lord Gopal stayed, and the two Brahmanas engaged in his service. After hearing of the incident, many people from different countries began to come to see Gopal. Eventually, the king of that country heard this wonderful story, and he also came to see Gopal, and thus became very satisfied. The king constructed a nice temple, and regular service was executed. Gopal became very famous under the name of Sakshi Gopal, the witness Gopal. Thus Sakshi Gopal stayed in Vidyanagar and accepted service for a very long time. Later, there was a fight, and this country was conquered by King Purushottama Dev of Orissa. That king was victorious over the king of Vidyanagar, and he took possession of his throne. The Manikya Simhasan, which was bedecked with many jewels. King Purushottama Dev was a great devotee and was advanced in the civilization of the Aryans. He begged at the lotus feet of Gopal, "Please come to my kingdom." When the king begged him to come to his kingdom, Gopal, who was already obliged for his devotional service, accepted his prayer. Thus the king took the Gopal deity and went back to Katak. After winning the Manikya throne, King Purushotamadev took it to Jagannath Puri and presented it to Lord Jagannath. In the meantime, he also established regular worship of the Gopal deity at Kathak. When the Gopal deity was installed at Kathak, the queen of Purushottam went to see him and with great devotion presented various kinds of ornaments. The queen had a very valuable pearl, which she wore on her nose, and she wished to give it to Gopal. She then began to think as follows: if there were a hole in the deity's nose, I could transfer the pearl to him. Considering this, the queen offered her obeisances to Gopal and returned to her palace. That night, she dreamed that Gopal appeared and began to speak to her as follows. During my childhood, my mother made a hole in my nose and with great endeavor set a pearl there. That very hole is still there, and you can see it to set the pearl you desire to give me. After dreaming this, the queen explained it to her husband, the king. Both the king and the queen then went to the temple with the pearl. Seeing the hole in the nose of the deity, they set the pearl there, and being very pleased, held a great festival. Since then, Gopal has been situated in the city of Kathak, and he has been known ever since as Sakshi Gopal. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu heard the narration of Gopal's activities. Both he and his personal devotees became very pleased. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting before the Gopal deity, all the devotees saw him and the deity as being of the same form. They were of the same complexion and both had gigantic bodies. Both wore saffron cloth and both were very grave. The devotees saw that both Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gopal were brilliantly effulgent and had eyes like lotuses. They were both absorbed in ecstasy, and both their faces resembled full moons. When Nityananda saw the Gopal deity and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in that way, he began to exchange remarks with the devotees, all of whom were smiling. Thus, with great pleasure, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu passed the night in the temple. After seeing the Mangalarti ceremony in the morning, he started on his journey. In his book, Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has very vividly described the places visited by the Lord on the way to Bhuvaneshwara. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu arrived at Kamalapura, he took his bath in the Bharginadi river and left, his sannyas staff in the hands of Lord Nityananda. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to the temple of Lord Shiva, known as Kapoteshvara, Nityananda Prabhu, who was keeping his sannyas staff in custody, broke the staff in 3 parts and threw it into the river Bharginadi. Later this river became known as Danda Banga Nadi. After seeing the temple of Jagannath from a distant place, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately became ecstatic. After offering obeisances to the temple, he began to dance in the ecstasy of love of God. All the devotees became ecstatic in the association of Lord Chaitanya, and thus absorbed in love of God, they were dancing and singing while going along the main road. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu laughed, cried, danced, and made many ecstatic vibrations and sounds. Although the temple was only 6 miles away, to him this distance seemed thousands of miles. Thus walking and walking, the Lord eventually arrived at the place known as Attaramala. Arriving there, he expressed his external consciousness, speaking to Sri Nityananda Prabhu. When Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has thus regained external consciousness, he asked, Lord Nityananda Prabhu, please return my staff. Nityananda Prabhu then replied, it has been broken into 3 parts. Nityananda Prabhu said, when you fell down in ecstasy, I caught you, but both of us together fell upon the staff. Thus the staff broke under our weight. Where the pieces have gone, I cannot say. It is certainly because of my offense that your staff was broken. Now you can punish me on this account as you think proper. After hearing the story about how his staff has been broken, the Lord expressed a little sadness and, displaying a bit of anger, began to speak as follows. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you have all benefited me by bringing me to Nilachala. However, my only possession was that one staff, and you have not kept it. So all of you should go before or behind me to see Lord Jagannath. I shall not go with you. Mukunda Datta told Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, my Lord, you should go ahead and allow all the others to follow. We shall not go with you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then began to walk very swiftly before all the other devotees. No one could understand the real purpose of the 2 lords, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu. The devotees could not understand why Nityananda Prabhu broke the staff, why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu permitted him to do so, or why, after permitting him, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became angry. The pastime of the breaking of the staff is very deep. Only one whose devotion is fixed upon the lotus feet of the 2 lords can understand it. The glories of Lord Gopala, who is merciful to Brahmanas, are very great. The narration of Sakshi Gopal was spoken by Nityananda Prabhu and heard by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. One who hears this narration of Lord Gopal with faith and love very soon attains the lotus feet of Lord Gopal. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishna Das, narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. The liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. I offer my respectful obeisances unto Lord Gaurachandra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who converted the hard-hearted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, the reservoir of all bad logic, into a great devotee. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya, and all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya. In ecstasy, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went from Ataranala to the temple of Jagannath. After seeing Lord Jagannath, he became very restless due to love of Godhead. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went swiftly to embrace Lord Jagannath, but when he entered the temple, he was so overwhelmed with love of Godhead that he fainted to the floor. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya happened to see him. When the watchman threatened to beat the Lord, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya immediately forbade him. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was very surprised to see the personal beauty of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as well as the transcendental transformations wrought on his body due to love of Godhead. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu remained unconscious for a long time. Meanwhile, the time for offering prasadam to Lord Jagannath came, and the Bhattacharya tried to think of a remedy. While Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was unconscious, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, with the help of the watchman and some disciples, carried him to his home and laid him down in a very sanctified room. Examining the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma saw that his abdomen was not moving and that he was not breathing. Excuse me. Seeing his condition, the Bhattacharya became very anxious. The Bhattacharya then took a fine cotton swab and put it before the Lord's nostrils. When he saw the cotton move very slightly, he became hopeful. Sitting beside Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he thought, "This is a transcendental ecstatic transformation brought about by love of Krishna." Upon seeing the sign of Subdipti Sattvika, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya could immediately understand the transcendental ecstatic transformation in the body of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Such a sign takes place only in the bodies of eternally liberated devotees. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya considered the uncommon ecstatic symptoms of Adhiruddha Bhav are appearing in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is very wonderful. How are they possible in the body of a human being? While the Bhattacharya was thinking in this way at his home, all the devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, headed by Nityananda Prabhu, approached the Simhadvara, the entrance door of the temple. There the devotees heard the people talking about a mendicant who had come to Jagannath Puri and seen the deity of Jagannath. The people said that the sannyasi had fallen unconscious upon seeing the deity of Lord Jagannath. Because his consciousness did not return, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya had taken him to his home. Hearing this, the devotees could understand that they were speaking of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Just then, Sri Gopinathacharya arrived. Gopinathacharya was a resident of Nadia, the son-in-law of Visharada, and a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He knew the true identity of his lordship. Gopinathacharya had previously been acquainted with Mukunda Datta, and when the Acharya saw him at Jagannath Puri, he was very much astonished. Mukunda Datta offered obeisances unto Gopinathacharya upon meeting him. Then the Acharya embraced Mukunda Datta and inquired about news of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Mukunda Datta replied, "The Lord has already arrived here. We have come with him." As soon as Gopinathacharya saw Nityananda Prabhu, he offered his obeisances unto him. In this way, meeting all the devotees, he asked about news of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu again and again. Mukunda Datta continued, "After accepting the sannyas order, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to Jagannath Puri and has brought all of us with him. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left our company and walked ahead to see Lord Jagannath. We have just arrived and are now looking for him." From the talk of the people in general, we have guessed that the Lord is now at the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Upon seeing Lord Jagannath, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became ecstatic and fell unconscious, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya has taken him to his home in this condition. Just as I was thinking of meeting you, by chance we have actually met. First, let us all go to the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Later we shall come to see Lord Jagannath. Hearing this, and feeling very pleased, Gopinathacharya immediately took all the devotees with him and approached the house of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Arriving at the home of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, everyone saw the Lord lying unconscious. Seeing him in this condition, Gopinathacharya became very unhappy, but at the same time he was happy just to see the Lord. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya permitted all the devotees to enter his house, and upon seeing Nityananda Prabhu, the Bhattacharya offered him obeisances. Sarvabhauma met with all the devotees and offered them a proper welcome. They were all pleased to see Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The Bhattacharya then sent them all back to see Lord Jagannath, and he asked his own son, Chandanesvara, to accompany them as a guide. Everyone was then very pleased to see the deity of Lord Jagannath. Lord Nityananda, in particular, was overwhelmed with ecstasy. When Lord Nityananda Prabhu nearly fainted, all the devotees caught him and steadied him. At that time, the priest of Lord Jagannath brought a garland that had been offered to the deity and offered it to Nityananda Prabhu. Everyone was pleased to receive this garland worn by Lord Jagannath. Afterwards, they all returned to the place where Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was staying. All of the devotees then began to loudly chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Just before noon, the Lord regained his consciousness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu got up and very loudly chanted, Hari, Hari. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was very pleased to see the Lord regain consciousness, and he took the dust of the Lord's lotus feet. The Bhattacharya informed all of them, Please take your midday bath immediately. Today I shall offer you Mahaprasadam, the remnants of food offered to Lord Jagannath. After bathing in the sea, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees returned very soon. The Lord then washed his feet and sat down on a carpet to take lunch. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya made arrangements to bring various kinds of Mahaprasadam from the Jagannath temple. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then accepted lunch with great happiness. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was offered special rice and first-class vegetables on golden plates. He thus took lunch in the company of his devotees. While Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya personally distributed the prasadam, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu requested him, Please give me only boiled vegetables. You can offer the cakes and preparations made with condensed milk to all the devotees. Hearing this, the Bhattacharya folded his hands and spoke as follows. Today, all of you please try to taste the lunch just as Lord Jagannath accepted it. After saying this, he made them all eat the various cakes and condensed milk preparations. After feeding them, he offered them water to wash their hands, feet and mouth. Begging permission from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya then went with Gopinathacharya to take lunch. After finishing their lunch, they returned to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Offering his obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, Namo Narayana. I offer my obeisances to Narayan. I return, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Krishna Matirs Asta, let your attention be on Krishna. Hearing these words, Sarvabhauma understood Lord Chaitanya to be a Vaishnava sannyasi. Sarvabhauma then said to Gopinathacharya, I want to know Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's previous situation. Gopinathacharya replied, There was a man named Jagannath who was a resident of Navadvip and whose surname was Mishra, Purandara. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the son of that Jagannath Mishra, and his former name was Vishvambar Mishra. He also happens to be the grandson of Nilambara Chakravarti. The Bhattacharya said, Nilambara Chakravarti was a classmate of my father, Maheshvara Visharada. I knew him as such. Jagannath Mishra Purandara was respected by my father. Thus, because of their relationship with my father, I respect both Jagannath Mishra and Nilambara Chakravarti. Okay, we stop here for today and continue tomorrow. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila Chapter 6, The Liberation of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya Ki Jai. Jai Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Jai Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Srila Gurudev. Hari Yaraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudan. Giridhari Gopinath Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chanda. Dada Sri Vasari Gora Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raguna. Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Desaraguna. Jai Kusai Jari Charana Bandha. Jai Te Vijnana Savishta Pura. Jai Kusai Jami Parada. Ansarara Sira Charana Siddhi Bhakta Sameda. Janame Janame Moya Vilas. Jai Kusai Jade Braja Koraba. Radha Krishna Nitya Lila Lila Bhaga. Anande Bola Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Sri Guru Vaishnava Bhakta Rama. Sri Guru Vaishnava Bhakta Hari Nam Sankirtana Goe Narukamadas. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Sisi Guru Karanga Sundar Radha Giridhara Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Nimalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Sila Bhakti Rakak Sita Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Bhagavan Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuka Guru Varga Ki Jai. Namacharya Sila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Om Vishnupad Silesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Sri Acharya Vrinda Ki Jai. Sabhashara Sri Nityananda Prabhu Ki Jai. Sabhashara Sri Mama Prabhu Ki Jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakunda Radha Kunda Kiri Govardhan Ki Jai. Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai. Ganga Yamuna Ju Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Sri Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sri Purushottama Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat East London Chapter Ki Jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Mat West London Chapter Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees Ki Jai, all glories to the world devotees Ki Jai, Sri Ekadasi Vrata Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur.